Hey there, folks. I'm back. I have calling this an addendum to the 4D golf stream. On stream, I was maybe a little harsh, maybe a little disappointed at first blush with 4D golf. I was looking for something that was going to challenge my brain right away. Since the time of that stream, I have finished the game and I have revised some thoughts. I might not still be, you know, uh, I'm not purely shining on it now. If anything, part of this is to highlight something that I think is somewhere icy. Maybe there could have been an improvement, a slight different way to pitch itself. Not only did I beat the game, I watched the devlog, then I got a little background on how the game was made. And I just want to show off two more levels. And I suppose I'll tell you up front that this does include I am going to show the last level of the game, which is, I guess, sort of arguably it's a spoiler. There's a twist to be revealed, but I need to show it to make my point. So I'm letting you know now, if this game interests you at all, about halfway through, I'm going to show a reveal that if you would like to not be spoiled on that, look away then. But since we already did stream about this game, I just want to get into it and show the new bit that I think is worth the bit that revised my thoughts, So on stream, we played the first three environments. We played Evergreens, Dunes, and Arctic. And they were as straightforward as you can get for dealing with 4D. I think the Evergreens, this windmill was like the most interesting thing that it showed. By the time we were getting to the Arctic, I was finally getting around to the idea that to say if you play it in volumetric view, it is just like a zero gravity 3D, because the Arctic really shows off like, no, the idea of the height is the sort of radio dial dimension that you need to tune in for where the ground and walls are. And that was, it is 4D. And that was actually something from the devlogs. Like, I think during the stream I was talking about like, oh, I wonder if they started with this view and went there, or that view and went here. And to my, I guess kind of to my surprise, definitely very, impressive, this game is 4D. Like, actually, it's not, I mean, it's faking it in so much as, we are not four-dimensional creatures. We do not have four-dimensional senses, and we are trying to do 3D representations on 2D screens, yada, yada, yada. Like, as the game explains, we have no choice but to look at it in slices. But under the hood, the game is calculating four-dimensional shapes. And that's impressive. I guess maybe, I think maybe there's an element of just like, I'll get to that later. Here's the thing. We made it through the Arctic, and that's actually almost just under the halfway point of the game. The halfway point of the game is the mezzanine, and that's what I really want to show off, because there's some stuff in here. This one's called the elevator pitch, right? Which is an interesting pun, because the idea of an elevator pitch is, oh, this is, if I'm to describe what I'm doing to you, this is how I do it in, however many, as long as it would take to ride an elevator with somebody. So, the 30-second, the three-sentence pitch, whatever like that. But the idea is just like, here is the sort of like, broad, brief, yet succinct sort of explanation. Like, what is the point of what you're trying to get across? What is trying to do good? I'd like to remind you, the elevator pitch is being presented halfway through the game. Keep that in mind. But they call it the mezzanine, but this environment is essentially a museum, which I think is... We'll get to what's interesting about that in a second. Whoops, I lost it. Other things I should note. Do I want to note this first, or I want to note this? We'll note this second. Here, let's talk to this orb. This orb says, of the 3 types of 4D cylinder, the dual cylinder is the most interesting because it has no analogs in 3D. It has 2 identical curved sides, neither of which is flat. The sides just look flat from different angles. So you can find a view where the top and bottom appear flat and another where the sides appear flat. So basically, being the... there you go. And now we've just rotated it. So now the, I kind of like, I'm a fan of Pringles. So I like what this thing does. Again, if we switch into volumetric, whoops, it's out there. It's not actually a part of the stage we can get to. Because I made it to the end of the game, I feel like I'm a little more used to navigating between the 2 modes. So maybe also caution for motion sickness. I'll try not to go too ham about it. Okay, so we can't step over to it, but here, I think I want to look at it like this way. Whoops, nope, I lost it completely. There you go. Let's see. So what is the... Oh, you're letting me move that way. Okay. Oh, no, you're letting me move that way because I'm in that view. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute too. But so part of why this level is sort of a museum is because they're going to do this rather than, essentially like 3 levels of very sort of slow ball. There's a ball on the screen. That's what I'm saying it for. Instead of being 3 levels of very slow drip tutorial, this one is sort of being like, okay, you're handling the golf. Let me tell you more about the 4D. Which I think is where we kind of get the name elevator pitch, because we are getting into like, okay, what is the nature of 4D? Okay, so if we're doing this, we want to kind of go this way, I think. No. Ooh. I think I'm just in a bad spot for it, actually. I think I have to get in there. Oh, it's a bit rough. Yeah, because I have to be able to hit it this way. Now we can actually see the ramp in the... And so this is the thing that I'm learning or one of the things that I have learned is that there are certain obstacles because of the way that, like, in both views, there is a quote unquote hidden axis. This is what the developer describes it as in the devlogs. The devlogs are super interesting. Even though I found them in the menu here, they are just the menu links to a YouTube playlist. But again, because it is real 4D, and part of that is sort of what I originally said, is that there is, each one has a hidden axis. So there are certain things that are easier to view, easier to understand. Certain, of these 4D shapes, there's one sense that you can get from this view, and then there is a different set of information you can get from this view, and a lot of the information is overlap between, I guess 2 of the 4 axes, I guess, are the same, because the third one is what's being swapped in and out. basically height for was it Anna and Kata. But that being said, once you can line some stuff up and you got your right slices, there's a reason, you know, it's very funny. Like, I think the way the game was sort of pitched, or maybe was intended, was you play it flat like this, like mini golf. But I spent most of that stream playing in the volumetric view because, you know, I do okay thinking in that 3D sense, you know, in the 3D zero gravity sense, and you know, that made a lot of sense to me. And because it very slow dripped the elements of height and ramps and all that into it, I could get away with that because the height axis wasn't necessarily necessary. So when you go into volumetric view and you swap the height axis, which we're saying is really not a factor, with our new fourth axis, you're back to only dealing with the three axes that matter. Okay, so we look like this and we say, okay, the hole's over here, and we come back here and the hole's there. I want to show something else that I never really put together. It told me this very early. And I think I kind of subconsciously sidestep this on purpose. But like, if I go like over here, right? I'm nowhere near the hole. If you want to play it from this view, it gave us two keys. It gave us B, which pointed us at the ball. I'm not exactly sure why we would do that when, as soon as you click the putting, or rather, like if we go right, if I'm nowhere near the ball, if you click use space, I changed some of the controls. I'll talk about that in a minute. If you start the putting process, it snaps you to the ball, which I think going to the ball is far more useful than looking at the ball. But the other one, we can look at ball and we can look at hole. And I'm just like, because I was mostly in 3D space, in the volumetric view, I was just like, well, I can kind of see the hole, I can arrange to it, I can do yada, yada, yada. It's really intended for this. And it was in watching the dev logs, watching the dev play, and seeing, they were like uncannily good at staying in this view, in like the traditional earthen mini golf view, but being able to, you know, manipulate the four-dimensional space to find the hole. They're not. We have the H key for hole, and you hit it, and kind of wherever you are, it just gives you a straight shot to the hole. It handles everything for it. So like, again, I think like on a subconscious view, I'm like, why are you going to give me that? Being able to find something like the hole is the challenge. But at the same time, this was like, you know, I feel like I wanted something that was going to challenge me a little bit more, but that wasn't necessarily the intent. There is a lot of kindness, and I am a very bad judge of if that's a good move, because it's not what I wanted. But if you are making something for most people, I'm gonna, because I'm a smart ass who tries regularly to break my own brain, I feel like, you know, I am going to take to this much easier. For other people, even having a hole that points, or having a button that just makes the hole appear in front of you, might be, you know, still necessary for like accessibility at all. If you don't have a tool that makes it that dead simple, they might not be able to get there in the end. So it could be that like this game is, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it kind of, my relationship with modern Mario games, which is why I kind of don't like them, but like they are aimed for an audience that is, you know, every episode, every game could be somebody's first. So because it's my 10th, 11th, 100th, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm tired of doing all the beginner steps, but you do got to include them. So, you know, it's I have specialized out of the common experience, and yeah, it happens. I enjoy being up here. It's just hard to remember that sometimes. But yes, and then It's been a few days since I played. That's what I'm blaming it on. Double bogey. I will say, now that I'm in this, I haven't played any of the challenge levels yet because I wanted to like leave a little bit in front of me. But I also I've been considering like, oh, I probably could go and play replay levels and get at least par on all of them. You know, it shows you the stars for the ones you've hit par on, or even, you know, below par. Let's see here. Paintings are drawn on a flat canvas in 3 dimensions. But in 4 dimensions, paintings must be drawn on 3D canvases. A 4D being sees the whole volume at once, but the slice view can only map one slice to your screen at a time. Viewing these paintings is similar to how a doctor would examine an MRI or a CT scan. So, I said before, under the hood, this game is like calculating 4D shapes, which is really interesting because one of the things that the dev points out in those dev logs is because these are 4D shapes, the textures need to be 3D objects, which that starts to blow my mind. But that's why as we manipulate through 4D space, even in this view, the ground textures are doing crazy things. It's not just manipulating, you know, a 2D texture and doing funny things to it. It's because the texture of the 4D object is a 3D object, and it is just rendering what it is. This is all accurate to 4D objects, you know? Part of it is we're just not used to that, but it is more than just like trippy random noise. It is accurate. We just have trouble telling it's accurate because, again, we're not 4D creatures. We are essentially seeing we're seeing a slice of a slice rendered on a slice. But so when they're talking about this, a 4D being sees the whole volume at once, but the slice view can only map one slice to your screen at a time. I'm sure that as a sentence expressing the sort of like truth of the situation, I am sure that is absolutely correct. Even me, somebody who loves to prod at the technicalities of the clauses in, you know, game rule sets, you know, I will have just as much fun just reading the rule book as I do actually playing it. Playing the game is an opportunity to see where the rule book fails, to me. Sorry to people who are looking to actually play the game. Whoops. That is a sentence which is technically right, but as we all know, technically is actually the least useful version of right. I don't necessarily understand what that means. I don't think it's clear. I say this sometimes, and I think this is... this became sort of a lens at how I looked at this game after watching the dev logs, but like, this game is sort of a magnificent technical feat. This dev had to like create new 4D rendering pipelines because it's just like, okay, a graphics card is like, a 3D object is broken down into tries, and then a graphics card knows how to generate a try. We're trying to break down 4D objects into 3D objects, and then I guess down again into tries in order to get it to work. So he had to like, part of the devlog is like, he's brute forcing hard calculating lookup tables, abusing the like RGB channels of image files in order to create a lookup table that can skip that middle step of going from 4D object into tries that the graphics card can understand how to draw, because without that, like, the amount of tries to like fully render a 4D object would set your computer on fire, you know? The fact that this is working is a technical marvel, and is really super impressive when you see what's going on under the hood. but it's kind of a Jurassic Park thing. When you look under the hood, you go, wow, that's, incredible. But at the same time, and I think this is where the my first experiences during the stream came up, is it's incredible under the hood, but then what you use that hood to make, and again, part of this is like simplifying it to appeal to mass audiences or whatever, but it's just like, when you get here, it's like, okay, this is trippy and this is kind of trippy, but like, gosh, and even these, yeah, see, but now I can't really affect these textures anymore, because now there are things that like I don't understand. Like now that I've been told what's happening under the hood, I can appreciate that it's impressive, but the end experience of being a person playing this game is like, all that impressive technicality doesn't necessarily create an interesting end game. If I hadn't watched the devlogs, I would not be impressed. I might not have finished this game just because like I wasn't particularly impressed with it. I did not even realize it was actually 4D like calculations going on, let's see here. So I want to try to aim about right there. Then we come back, and then it looks like it won't work, but trust me, it will. I just have to try and get it between the blades. And now this one is looking better. But it's the same thing. Talking about that crystal node that we just looked back at. Again, I don't want to downplay and say like, oh, all of that effort was useless. What I'm trying to point out here is, and this is something, actually, honestly, something I've learned from having a bunch of different jobs and just being taught by, different, more experienced employees over the course of my different jobs. Understanding a topic and being able to do impressive work within that field is an entirely different skill set from being able to sort of teach and express what's interesting about that topic. Like, so like with that sentence back there, with the structure, the fact that the elevator, very, on the page, the elevator pitch isn't until halfway through the game. It's just like, oh, you have created something technically impressive, but I don't think the developer skill set was in creating and pacing something to really show off how impressive it is. Again, I was more impressed by the devlog than by the end product, than the end game. It does feel weird calling a game a product, but that's what I mean by it's a Jurassic Park thing. It's just like, wow, it's really cool that you did that. The end of thought. Let's see here. I want to talk to that orb, which I might be able to do this way. Yes. I'm intuiting a lot of how I need to line up these days. But yeah, so here, the one and only Klein bottle. Despite its association with 4D, it's really still a 2D surface. Bringing it into the fourth dimension means it becomes more like a ribbon than a bottle, so it's obvious you can untangle the overlap. Is it obvious? That's the word we're going with. It's obvious. This is also a part of it, when you get so deep into a topic, you kind of forget what it's like to not have knowledge. This is why I am completely of the at this point I'm of the opinion that like and this comes a lot to programming, but like the developers should not create the documentation. The documentation should be written by people who are unfamiliar with it, asking questions of the developer, because once you know everything, you're going to misjudge what the questions people will have about it are. Somebody who's actually unfamiliar with it will ask the questions and a person unfamiliar with it would ask, and those will be the questions that will be worth answering in documentation, tutorials, what have you. Klein bottles are, never mind. I've never understood what the point of like Klein bottles are. I just never looked into it. I guess it's, I got as far as a Mobius strip and I'm like, oh cool. And then they put was it the N64 F-Zero you race on a Mobius strip? No, it was Mega Race on PC where a track is on a Mobius strip. The point is, somewhere there was a Mobius strip, and I said, "Oh, that's a cool racetrack because it's one long drag strip." It wasn't Silence, was it? No, it wasn't. Whatever. Klein bottles aren't the only surfaces like this. In fact, all smooth surfaces, no matter how many intersections they have, can be untangled without overlap in 4 dimensions. Again, I'm sure that's accurate. I have no idea what this means. The first, again, remember, we're halfway through this game. The first half of the game was introducing, here are all the tools to help you play the game. None of it helps you to understand here, right? That being said, I think this, you know, level design aside, this idea of just like, hey, let's look at some spaces, let's look at some shapes in 4D and kind of see what's weird about it. This, you know, this is the elevator pitch. We are looking at a Klein bottle, a famously like complex kind of surface. See, you say it becomes a ribbon, but that has become 2 pieces now. That's why I don't think the explanations are very good, because they don't actually help like a layperson, even if they are technically correct. And this is like the trippy thing. And again, when we look at it in this 3D space, like we don't enter where this Klein bottle is. We are not interacting with it. It is just a showpiece. Like, you know, when I say it is, you know, part of the elevator pitch, you look at this and you just go, whoa, something crazy is going on here. If I had saw this with it, why am I sliding? Oh, I'm being pushed by the thing in 4D space. If this Klein bottle had been in the first 5 minutes of this game, I would have had a totally different opinion of this game from the jump. You know, to be fair, the stream that I did for this game was shorter than my usual stream. I think usually I try to go for like 2 to 3 hours. I think that one was like a crisp 90 minutes. But that's because like something like this, it's like, because this is something that I think can pull in the lay people, right? Because it's like, whoa, we're looking at something trippy, and something like, yeah, it's trippy because you're looking at this 4-dimensional thing. You know, it's the it's the teaser, you know, it's an abilities. It's just like, hey, check out this crazy thing going on. You don't have to be scared of it. You don't need to understand it now, but it's just like, yo, that looks trippy and it's telling me that there's something going on here that I don't understand. And then once I'm engaged and asking questions, that's when you take me by the hand and we start slow walking until the point where I can understand this, right? Like if a Klein bottle was like the mid boss halfway through the game and we had to like putt on it somehow, I don't even know if that would technically be possible, but like that would sort of make sense. It's like you get introduced to it and go, wow, wild, and then you come back around to it and sort of bookend it and go like, oh, look at the progress I've made. This Klein bottle that we do not interact with via our verbs of mini golf is the most interesting thing this game did, and it happened over an hour into my experience, you know. But yeah, I like they talk about this Klein bottle, and then let's see here, can I figure out where the paintings are? Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I mean, honestly, it's very cool if you can get around to sort of understanding it. But like all of these paintings on the wall, when you move around in 4D space, they are pretty darn cool. And like, I'm not even super sure. Okay, so here's the parts that gets me. I adjusted my controls. I think now is a pretty good time to talk about my controls. WASD, I'm still using. Q and E are to sort of like move, in 4D space, and I was relying on those a bit earlier. I don't think they're actually useful. I think they're actually sort of a red herring. By default, let's see if I can even remember this because I changed it very quickly. By default, to start your putt is spacebar, and to like hold toggle into 3D to your toggle, your hold toggle. That's not what I'm saying. The button you hold in order to manipulate your view in 4D space is, you'll notice I turned off my compasses too. This is how I beat the game. It's just like trying to use those isn't necessarily helping me. But again, I'm also somebody where I can keep track of like, okay, now I'm gonna split this way, and that means that those things are going to be spinning the opposite way. And oh look, the one in the back looks like one wide one. That's because in this view is 90 degrees. So if I look this way, now the front one is going to be the solid wall, and the back one, like, that is just something that is a thing about me. And even now I'm starting to understand, like, okay, so now when I hold down my 4D toggle, I'm looking at this, so now I'm looking down in there. I'm not yeah, there you go. And now we've rotated over there, and now we've rotated over there, and like I'm kind of getting a grip on like just sort of like mentally keeping track of my 4D orientation even in this view. That is a kind of thing I was hoping the game would have asked of me within the first half. It's not even necessary here halfway through the game, I'll say that. Which way am I trying to go? Look at the hole. It's down that way. Okay. But yeah, when we look at these paintings out here, like when you look, right, so I'm talking about my controls. I move those now to start putting, and because the sort of strength control is on the mouse, you hold left mouse button to go into putting mode, and because you manipulate your view direction, both looking, turn, and then 4D, I have mapped out to right mouse button. So really most of the time I am using one hand to play the game, and it is my left hand is kind of just toggling the different view states. And if I do need to move around, but honestly, I don't need to move around a lot. I will spend most of the time here locked to the ball, and then I can press H to figure out where the hole is. And then I'm using just my right hand to manipulate angles and all of that, and just toggling back and forth into that, into between the two modes to get all of my information, and then we're going. Which, by the way, maybe I'll just start taking this shot. I think I probably want to try to hit it like right here. Oh boy. I'm gonna mess this shot up. Don't worry about it. Yeah, did it bad. Never said I got particularly better at the game. I just kind of got more comfortable manipulating the spaces and the tools. Go this way, I might be able to catch it. Here? Oh! Ah! There. Look, you can see daylight for a hot second right down through there. Actually, if I even go like this, it should make it a very narrow window, but makes it very clear. Also, I remember during the stream making kind of a big deal about like, oh, in space sims, when they have to do a compass, they will do, the 2D plane and then a line up or down to tell you if it's above or below. As soon as I turned on the 2-color ghosting here to let you know, oh, it's sort of to one direction or the other, I'm not super used to exactly what it means, but it is something kind of like, okay, as soon as I make the ghosts collapse on each other, then it works. And it's kind of like, if I'm going 180 or the other way, like there is an element of, but like being able to tell like, okay, one direction will get me towards the ground, while the other direction might get me towards that bench over there because it's, the blue. It's still not super helpful, and I'll say why it's not super helpful, right? When I'm here in volumetric view, all right, I have 3-axis control. I have your normal left, right, up, down that comes with that. And when we hold our 4D view, only left and right does this spin. That's our 3rd axis. So theoretically, there's maybe like a height axis spin that I only have 3-axis control here. That being said, when I'm here in sort of traditional view, I have left, right, I have up, down, but then when I'm holding 4D control, I have left, right, and up and down. And I don't actually know what I am being given control of, right? I have to imagine when we're in this view, I think this up down is the one that would normally be like the height pitch. This is replacing the, a height one. So I think this one only has left and right, and I think this is what the left and right is in the other view, right? So we can watch that bench appear and disappear that way on the opposite sides of the shadow. But then when we have the up and down, I think we are getting the equivalent of, in this view, doing this. Yeah, that seems to be right to me. But there is there's something unintuitive to that, because I feel like it would almost be more intuitive if it's 4-dimensional, so there are 4 axes. So the idea of there are 4 dimensions, so there are 4 axes. We can only see 3 dimensions at a time, and we have inputs to control 3 axes. So the idea that I have 2 here, and then 2 more with the toggle, and then I go here and I have 2 and 1 more with the toggle. That's unintuitive. I feel like it's a kind of see, I say this, and this is the kind of thing that starts to make sense on paper. I would have to actually touch it to understand what the real implications, the experiential implications are. But the idea of just oh no, the axes should stay controlling the same thing no matter which view you're in. So that way it's just oh, this direction is moving this direction is moving this. And I would imagine it would help you to sort of understand the 4D shapes. The fact that, the fact that which axes this untoggled 2 axes are controlling changes is what makes it, honestly, I feel like is what makes it start to feel like the shapes are faked, which again, they're not, and that's super impressive. The fact that they're not shaped and my video card is not melting is super impressive. But it makes it feel, in a weird way, making it feel intuitive kind of hides how impressive it is. Kind of hides the confusing elements, which also hides what's impressive about it. This thing should be, again, maybe this is my impressive, but the reason why this is impressive is because we are working with something confusing, and we're actually doing that. But as you add all of these accessibility options and things to sort of make it easy to pick up, so that you don't have to think about the 4D-ness, you are taking the most interesting thing and sort of making it moot. It's work, which again, if you want people to be able to pick up and play your game at some level, especially as a beginner, I understand why you would do that. But which is why I sort of harp on the idea of why is the Klein bottle there as a non-interactive object, just something you can look at and sort of woggle around and go whoa, I don't quite understand what I'm doing, but I see that I'm doing something different. Why is that halfway in the game? That is something you can do straight up, and it's like they talk about with Mario games, right? When they introduce a new hazard or challenge or whatever, you introduce it in a situation where you can mess with it and failure has no penalty, and then you sort of amp up the penalty for failure and the difficulty of the challenge as you get, you know, in steps, as you iterate on it throughout the rest of the level. And just having a climb bottle to look at sounds to me like oh, here's a thing that like looks dangerous and challenging, no penalty for failing to understand it at the start, you know. The abilities, the starting Metroid with the full fully powered suit of 4D golf. Oh, we're gonna go look at that thing. Okay, so if we look at this, we're here. See, this is where I really start to get into it. It's just like, oh, okay, there's a volume there that's moving, and it doesn't quite play what it means to be moving and all of that. Now we go here and we look at this, and now it's gonna go that way to make sense. Yeah, I'm moving in the fourth dimension to get there. Oh, I wanted to stay on this. Oh, okay, fine. I wanted to go talk to? That's not the right verb. I wanted to go talk to that, Oh, okay, so wait. If I walk away from the ball, it'll let me. Now, we can traverse here and talk to this crystal. This is a compound of 5 overlapping 16 cells. I have no idea what that means. I don't need to know. I can look at it and go like, oh, that's something complex, you know? Boy, I hope this game teaches me what I need to know to get there, or at least uses this to sort of scare me a little bit, and then when it comes to using it as part of the mini golf part, it's dumbed down enough where it's not as challenging as, like, I don't even know what overlap, like a 16 cell, I believe, is the same way that we might talk about polyhedrons, like, oh, your dodecahedron, your octahedron. I think a 16 cell is a name in the same way that like octahedron is a name, not for an equivalent thing, but like 5 overlapping. So is that an element of 1,4D shape or not? It doesn't matter. It looks cool. It looks cool, and it makes you go, whoa, man. And that's enough. Where's the ball? Let's see here. I want to be looking about this way, I think. And if I'm here, I want to look at the hole, right? H to show hole. Not on Twitch. That much? That's a lot. Bop. It's fine. And now again, I could do the way I did it on stream, but like, that's not even the intent. The intent is just like, oh, close enough. H. It's almost like the way some games, if you get close enough to the hole, they'll let you do the like kick it in. I don't remember what games let you do that, but also we know like that's how you actually play mini golf. This almost feels like it could be that, but I think it is intended to be leaned on much more heavily than that. But that's kind of the way I approach it. It's like, once I'm in like the same 4D room as the hole, yeah, I can just press a button and get a straight shot to it. That part's a gimme. I did the hard part of getting across the rest of the level. But yeah, I was astonished. Here's another one. I was astonished because I got off stream, and I think it was like another day or two before I came back to this, and I immediately jumped into this, and I was like, where was all this? Here's a museum of what is trippy and cool about 4D that should have been in the first 5 minutes. If you arrange 4 circles in a square, you would need another circle about 60% smaller to fit in the center. Do the same thing with spheres in the cube, and the center sphere must be about 30% smaller. But in 4D, you can fit a hypersphere of the same size. In fact, a second cubic lattice can exactly fit into the gaps left by the first one, as this sculpture demonstrates. Cool, man. We're demonstrating it. Okay, I kind of get this one. Kind of. I'm kind of getting this. Again, do I need to get it? No. Is it something cool to look at? There's an actual like MRI scan. But yeah, the way they show this, and you can like see the brain in the picture rotating as you're going through it, and you're moving in the multiple dimensions. It's a bit tricky to really get to get used to, but like it's honestly just having those as well. The idea of having a painting, it's like, oh, it's a painting, it's a 2D thing. No, it's a 3D thing. No, it's a 4D thing. Because not only is it something that, you know, the 2D projection is like projected onto this 2D surface, but you can rotate that 3D object, and you can also like cut into it. And I think this best sells it, this idea of like, oh, you know, I'm rotating the face. That's why you can see like the nose sort of moving around and disappearing. And then this way I am changing what slice of that face I am looking at. So again, it's a 2D picture, but I am able to manipulate it in 4 dimensions in a sense. And like, that's cool. And honestly, like that feels like the easiest way to start to get a grip on like, oh, what is a 4D object? Kind of like, what is the kind of behavior? Like, I feel like that is the best way to like start to explain it. Again, doesn't appear until halfway through the game. And that is befuddling to me until you start to look at it as somebody's like, again, if you think of this as something developed by somebody who is brilliant at making this happen, but not at the skill set to demonstrate why it's cool, to teach it to other people, you know, that's nothing to be ashamed of, but it starts to make things make sense to me. You know, teaching is a skill. Just, like, bar none, teaching is a skill, and it is a skill that should not be undersold. Let's see here. I don't want to go about that much. Yep. Oh, that's perfect. And now we're looking at this, and we want to try and find the one line that's basically going to line us up through all these cubes. So then when we go flat again, that'll let us do all of this in one good go. Bazinga! Oh, I said it in earnest. And then we're close enough, so I'm just going to hit H to show hole. And put it in. Boom. Birdie. And, like, again, we are... Here, so something like these. I think this is actually really... This level does start to get, like, a little... actually mind-bending, which is why I feel like the first couple of levels should have been the museum, where it is showing you cool things but not really asking you to challenge it, right? Because then as you're working through, it's just like, okay, and now that you have an idea of like what the hardest stuff to expect is, let's slow drip you and increment the challenge. So yeah, these spinning discs are spinning spheres, and they're rotating in different dimensions. But that's... Yeah. You can see what that one's doing. So, like, this one we get onto, and it works kind of the way we think. And then we get onto that one, and it's going to make you throw up. And this view, again, with the 2-color shadows on, is, like, the only way to really begin to understand that that's what it's going to do. Because it's really a sphere, even though we come over here and it's like, oh, it's just a... Oh, you can kind of see that it's got extra wibbly wobblies going on. Until you step into it, at which point now we are inside relative to the sphere and the rest of the museum. Which, again, this is pretty trippy. Having to putt off of this is challenging. Not impossible, though. But just to stand here and watch the way that the world is, again, this is just watching the paintings, quote unquote, animate. The fact that there's different paintings on that wall, depending on like your whether you're looking forwards or 180 backwards in the fourth dimension, which actually we're rotating in 2 dimensions at once, that are on 2 axes at once, is what's going on here. Both of which are hidden in this view. Not hidden, but not super apparent. Yeah, once we go here, no, there's only kind of one here as well, right? There's only one here. Oh no, it is kind of 2, but it's no, is it? No, it looks like only 1, but it's the 4D dimension. Okay, yeah, so we're spinning in the 4D dimension in this one, not in the... Yeah, because everything else stays kind of... I miss res. I don't need 4D res, but res was cool. Okay, snap me back to ball. This one you kind of need to manually align. You can't really rely on... Yeah, and I'm gonna want to go this way, because that'll get me on top of this one, and then we'll be able to get onto that one with the right timing. About here? Yeah, okay. Right? And then this feels very normal. When we drop this, it's not spinning on the 4D axis, so it feels like a very natural transition into our volumetric view. And I'm going to want to get us over there. Ah, too early. Too early, or not strong enough, or something. There we go. And now we're here, and now we got to deal with this. But again, we drop into our volumetric view, and we kind of see... Actually, if we just rotate this way... I don't know whose phone that was. We go... No... I see, that's what... I think there is a second axis spin on this. It's just much shorter, right? Or... So I can't really keep it here. So like in a weird way, the easiest thing to do is to keep it here, right? And then like this, because then what's going to happen is even this way, door gone, right? But I think trying to line it up and sort of watch it come around in this ghost view is a little too fiddly. Although it's going to be, yeah, okay, you know what, maybe not. Maybe we can do it that way. Again, you kind of just look for when the ghost sort of like overlays completely, and then the door appears. And just go. And as long as we land inside of here. And now we're out of that befuddling. Here, I wanna talk to this baseball. In 3 dimensions, rings can be linked together to make a chain, but in 4D it is not so simple. The 4D version of a torus, called the spheroids, cannot form a chain with itself since it can be unlinked through the 4th dimension. I don't know what that means. However, a torus sphere here in blue and a spherosphere here in red do actually link together and cannot come apart. Yeah, homie? These can't come apart, huh? Again, you look at it like this and you're like, we're together, but in a sense, it's because you're not looking at it anymore in the 4th dimension. And it's just like, all right. Like, all right, sure, man. This can't come apart. Whatever you say, my guy. Anyway, snap to ball, show hole, and simply putt. See, and that's the thing, right? Once we get to this level and they are showing us concepts that are like, oh, that is going to get my brain, that is going to make my brain hurt, then you are grateful to have snap to ball, show hole as, you know, a 2-click process. and not having to do alignment in 3D and whatnot as well. What's the next hole? This one, expressionism. Let's see here. I want to say this one was kind of cool because, again, you had to sort of like snap through 3D space and or 4D space really, and then come around over here and like, oh, let's look at this thing. Sure. The way that this is a lower dimensional slice of a 4D object would be a 3D object. Yeah, sure. I guess, man. What is this knowledge useful for? In 4 dimensions, there are 6 platonic solids, the most in any dimension. The 24 cell shown here has no analogous shape in 3 dimensions and is made up of 24 octahedra. Yeah, man? Again, man, if you say so. If you made me put through one of these, that would be pretty cool and fun. Maybe that's in one of the challenge levels, but it didn't happen to me playing through the regular levels. All right, I don't need to play whole things here. But again, all of that is cool. Halfway, all of this is kind of slow road tutorial that kind of makes that, because it is keeping easy on you, doesn't do a good job of like foreshadowing the trippy, challenging things coming. If the sort of like environment of Mezzanine with the museum aspect and the interesting things to look at and the like challenging shapes for you to look at but not asking you to interact with it, I take that back. There is, show me a single hole in the Mezzanine. Double rotation was I wanted to show this one specifically. Let's see here. Nope. You usually think of rotations as around an axis, but really rotations happen in a plane. And we're saying that's enough explanation. For the purposes of playing this game, it is, I guess. This distinction is important because in 4 dimensions, you can have 2 sets of orthogonal planes, each rotating independently. This is called a double rotation. The 2 blocks in front of you are performing one of these double rotations. And so this is like the most interesting thing, right? It's like, okay, something's going on here. And when we go into volumetric view, it still looks funky. I can't actually like mentally model what is going on here. But it's interesting to look at. And I can still kind of, understand that, like, okay, if I turn this way, and now it's rotating that way. This is cool stuff. And you'll notice the most interesting bit here, right? Of the things we looked at, it's not a Klein bottle. It's not the 24 cell or whatever we were just looking at. This is just kind of 2 cubes, and we just kind of got to look at it and go, yeah, the fact that it goes from that rotation to that, this is like the most trippy thing it asks you to sort of contend with. I do it while they're gone. No, it comes back. Yeah, like I don't really understand it, but it does this interesting thing where it is asked. This is like the first time the game asks you to like interact with a really like one of the more complex sort of like 4D traits, 4D operations. And this was also one of the first ones to really be tricky to me, because I was looking at it and like, oh, what do you want me to do here? But if I come at this so they're on like a diagonal, what happens here? Okay, cool. And then at some point you realize like, oh, it kind of wants me to like use this double rotating 4D shape as like a ramp to clear this gap. And it's like, okay, that's clever. This is cool. This is now like, this feels like 4D mini golf when you hit this. Again, it's kind of just a timing thing. It's sort of tricky to line it up. I can understand why you wouldn't ask this, first, second, third hole. But, you know, maybe this is like whole 9 of the first set. Sure. You know, it's basically the same as what the windmill does, but making it feel like 4D. You know, you're dealing with a complex 4D transformation, rotation, whatever you want to call it, a 4D operation, but it is simple enough that you actually don't need to understand it super well to sort of understand how you can use it. Except also, heck if I know. Oh, wait, is that it? So I'm just gonna kind of, I just hit it like here. Ah! I think that almost did it. Okay, all right, that might be able to do it. I just gotta, yeah, look at that rotation. That's the good stuff. I cannot truly comprehend what I'm looking at, but I can comprehend it enough to make the shot. And that's what I mean. That's great. That is actually dealing with 4D. This is halfway through the game. I'm sorry I keep harping on that one point, but like everything that I felt like was missing. So it's this weird thing, right? Like I had, you know, after about 10 minutes, I had to reset my expectations of this game. The things I was expecting are in here. They're just so delayed that it actually convinced me that they weren't in here. Is that a problem with me and the way I set my own expectations? Yes, but maybe it's also like a problem with pacing. If somebody didn't have my expectations and they saw it at the beginning and they did kind of get it without, you know, an idea of like the kind of complex things 4D could do, would they also have given up because they couldn't be like, where is the interesting part? They might have just thought there is. I'm inventing a guy at this point. I shouldn't do that. But still, there's, wow, that's actually way better than I did on this last time. Wow, really? Oh, but it's not gonna, oh no, it is gonna save that. Cool. But yeah, that's Mezzanine. Magnum Opus is like a weird, almost like a pachinko level that you can't see all at once because it happens in the 4th dimension. It's cool. Now, if you're playing along at home, if you've now been shown sort of where this game goes when it's, and so everything that Mezzanine just started introducing, that's kind of where Inferno goes. Inferno is just like, okay, this is hard, but we're going to play more with, like, you really have to kind of like start understanding what, and Nebula as well. These two are basically what I expected the game to be, not, you know, less than half the game. You know, well, although, you know, there's also the challenge, and again, I actually don't know how Evergreen Challenge is compared to Evergreen. If Evergreen Challenge is sort of in the Mezzanine zone, maybe I could do all right with it, but like, you know, something about the way I've played other games tells me go down to normal first, then go back to the challenges. Because maybe the challenges, because if the challenges is like harder versions but staying within the concepts that Evergreen gave us, then that's not actually going to be that much of a challenge, and I would be more interested in getting new concepts to play with, which is why I went down. If you want to play this game, I've now reached where the interesting stuff is, and from that point out, the game was super cool and what I expected, and I'm glad I played it. I was interested in playing it. Once you hit Mezzanine, my whole opinion of the game flipped from being like disappointing and oversold to basically spot on what was sold. You know, it just takes it a long time to get there and to really give you confidence that we are going that far. Again, the fact that what I expected is in the game, but the game convinced me to lower those expectations, something seems messed up there. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I think it's maybe a pacing thing. I think it's maybe a sort of like conceptual foreshadowing kind of thing, but there's something there. go play the game now, because I'm about to go to the other part of what I wanted to show about this game. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This game's actually in 5D. So this is where I was, Inferno, Nebula, I was doing okay. And then we get to here. And we're looking at this, and it's just like, oh, what's going on here? It is much harder to find the hole in 5 dimensions. In 4D, you'll always find the hole eventually if you keep rotating your 4D view. But in 5D, you need to align 2 different planes simultaneously to find it. Make use of H to help you find the hole when you're lost. So what happens here? You're not seeing it immediately because, again, I turned compass off. But you remember I was talking about when you go into volumetric view and we do this. Now there is a second toggle for, here, let's do this. There's a second toggle for a 5th dimension axis rotation. So now when you're in volumetric view, you can do the same sort of squishy, move things around, where does the hole live kind of thing. And this was cool because I don't freaking understand it. I don't understand it, right? When we're here in volumetric view, I can move this and it's like, okay, it's down there. Is this where it lines up? And then I go this way. And then when we go back here, nope. You can see the ghost over here. And then when you move 5D, the ghost just kind of changes color, which now it's gone rainbow color, which looks cool and trippy, but you know, the accessibility of 2-color ghosting to help you with orientation is just completely shot now. But yeah, as you move 4D around, you can, when you're in the sort of traditional mini golf view, as you move your 4D angle around, you see the ghost of the 5th dimension also shifting around. And like, this is, because I'm kind of a jerk, this is basically what I was hoping for. I was hoping for, oh, this is going to be hard to this is going to make me like, all right, so if I go here and I look at hole, that's not happening. Why? How do we get there? Yeah, man. Okay, so I'm in this weird 4D room, and if I... okay, all right, as we slide this around, now I have found a 4D... oh, is that the hole? Oh, there's the hole. Okay. But I am now not where the ball is? So with my 5th dimension aligned and now my 4th dimension aligned, now I drop back here to my traditional 3rd dimension and now it's over there. This is where, because again, now that I have the shot lined up, again, you can't just use the gimme of the whole lineup anymore. Okay, maybe you can. Okay, so does lineup hole not rotate all 5 dimensions to get you there? That's an interesting question. But again, this is when it started to make sense. Like, oh, the final hole is just like a gimme. It's just like, hey, you did the hard part of getting this far. We'll get you the rest of the way there to just kind of sink it. Ooh, stay. See, because like now it's here, but now we're over here, so we can just, and I will say thank you. But so here's the thing. While I was still a little disappointed that, like... Again, I was disappointed by the very beginning of the game because it was kind of too easy, which intentionally, because they were looking to welcome people who aren't constantly looking to challenge their brain because they are sort of... psychomasochists. No, what's the one? I can't say that on YouTube. sapiosmasochist. Is maybe that the word? Here, what do you have to say? Highly recommended to switch to the stereographic comp. Yeah, I'm not using that stuff. Again, I'm still kind of making it harder on myself because I'm a little bit of a jerk to me. Okay, that looks like it can just be there, right? Sure. We're here. If I aim like right here. Are we fine? We're fine. But like, it's so interesting because I started this game and it gives us like the most basic, and because it is trying to teach from the ground up, I sort of caught on to it faster than I hoped to. I was like, oh, let me flop around and struggle. But it did such a... I don't want to just call it like base good job, but it did do like a very thorough job at slowly introducing you to like buttons and tools and the kind of complex turns that the four-dimensional shapes can take in this game, that I picked it up very quickly and I never had the feeling of flopping around. When I got to this level, and I think specifically this level, right? Because we're looking at it and it's just like, oh, the hole's right there. No, it's not. The hole is here. Okay, wait, the hole is here. No, it's not. The hole is here. But no, wait. It went over here. Okay. The hole is here. No, it's yes, it is. Yeah, maybe. No, it's not. It's here in the fifth. Okay, here it is. Where's my ball? By looking at the ball, this was. By the time I got here and we're doing 5D manipulations, this hit my, not just like my sort of like tempered expectations, but this hit my hopes of how much it would stress my brain to try and figure this stuff out. Like I'm looking at it. I have completed these levels before. Don't ask me how. I don't know where I am. I don't know really how to like begin looking at this. I think I'm on a ramp now. Hang on, let me move around in the fifth dimension. Just take me back to where I belong. Here, if I look around in the no. See again, and then when you look around in the fifth dimension here, it's apparently not just hidden, but it is a manipulation you are unable to see. The only thing you see is that the shadows are changing color. You do not see what else is going on. And like the fact that like I am looking at it is being directly shown to me in the best way that, you know, a 3D rendered on a 2D flat screen can show me. And it's just like I am looking at it. The change of color is the manipulation, and I don't know what that means. It's breaking my brain. This is what I wanted. This is what I hoped for. And again, it's just so wild to me that like the things that I most hoped for were in fact here in this game, but somehow they were like, I don't want to say hidden from me, but just like it became, oh yeah, I don't even know. And that's all purple. Here where they kind of flatten out and go gray, I think that's kind of when they're aligned in the fifth dimension. Maybe. Do I want to hit that right there? Chief, I do not know. Great, man. Brother, I am beyond. Oh, look. Somewhere in that direction, but who knows which way in the other 2 of 5 dimensions the hole is. Brother, I am... Okay, yep, that's a cool shape. Here, if I... Okay, that looks like a shape. Now we're looking like shapes again. Maybe I want to go, like, this way? If I go this way, will that be helpful? Where's the hole? Okay, the hole's that way, so maybe I want to go, like, this way. It adjusted the 4th dimension on me. In what way did it do that? See, so... Yeah, I really do not understand it. I adjust the 4th dimension. I guess it's not really different. Oh. Yes, as soon as you're doing this, you're looking at the wall. Okay. If I just say hole, that does not help me out. If I go a little... Yeah, so it becomes this weird thing. Like, I can adjust the 5th dimension, but... What is that actually doing for me? If I aim... Where's the hole? The hole's over there. I feel like somehow like this is what I want to be putting. Okay, all right. Where am I? Oh, right. I can move in the 4th dimension. Or sorry, in the 5th dimension. Again, I do not know if that's helping. No, it doesn't help because you cannot move the ball. You can only rotate the ball. Oh, look at that. It's like... Well, it closed off. Because it... Okay, so I'm in a point where these connect... connect... I think... Still? All right, hot dog, I'm gonna try it. What? Oh, yeah! And I can hit H to point towards the hole, and I'm at the hole. And that's par. And I don't really understand how I did it. And that's what I wanted from the start of this game. This is how I wanted to be challenged, going like, oh, can I do it at the very limits of my ability to understand what I'm actually doing? 5D is the smallest dimension that has the minimum possible symmetries. I'm not going to bother reading the rest of that sentence. I'm already lost. This is my mental modeling capability being pushed to the limit. I can get it done. I'm not sure how. I don't know if I could get it done without some of the like auto align tools that this game is giving me, like just being able to hit H and being like, hopefully I'm in a better position now. There's a lot of it I still don't, like, there's a part of me that might just play this stage over and over again and sort of like pushing the boundaries of like, okay, what if I position here? What if I position here? Again, the fact that when you're standing here and you do a 5D axis rotation, all that changes is the shadow color is killing my brain, because it's like, okay, something is changing. Like, am I changing? I don't know. I don't know. That's what I wanted all along, was to have something that really, oh, right, this little thing. This is... Okay, You remember in the mezzanine when we looked at that cool like double cylinder? Okay, in 4D, this thing is a double cylinder. It'll go Pringle shaped on us. And so you have to figure out how to get around this 4D double cylinder by manipulating fifth dimensional space. Yeah, I guess that ain't gonna do it. What if we there's a tiny hole there. I bet I could fit a ball right through there. You know? I don't even know where the ball went. Snap back to ball. Well, I don't know where the... Okay, all right. This is what I wanted. I cannot believe. Like, again, I played, 90 minutes of a stream or however long that was, and was convinced by the game that, like, I had set my expectations too high. When this didn't just hit my expectations, it hit my hopes. And that's wild. For something that, like, is under the hood so impressive, and eventually we get there, but it is, like, so slow rolled. There's a difference between, like... This is why foreshadowing is kind of, like... I mean, this is why foreshadowing is hard, right? Because, like, sometimes you want to keep things hidden so they're a surprise, but, like, if you really only have one thing and you're keeping it surprised, then until you decide to reveal it, there's nothing. Like, you kind of need to have a gimmick and then a twist, because the gimmick will keep people hooked, and then they're like, oh, this gimmick is pretty good, and then you slap them and stun them with the twist, this is wild. I don't know. And the fact that, again, I mean, this is cool because we're now looking at, actual 5D objects. The textures for these 5D objects need themselves to be 4D objects. Again, I don't understand it. The dev did work on the math and figure it out and got there, and that's impressive as hell. And it's just like, to know that this is technically correct and also, like, out of my ability, but at the same time, like, out of my ability to understand, yes, but I can play mini golf on, like, it is such an interesting thing. And I wanted to add this addendum to show this stuff off, because, like, hey, this super cool stuff is in here, and I don't know, somewhere between me and the game, I feel like me just showing off the beginning part of the game could be enough to convince you that it's not in here. And it's just like, I'm not trying to hide anything. I was going in, it's my honest expectations, but it's just like, this is a weird thing. I feel like I'm issuing a correction on behalf of the game, because we looked at the beginning and it was just like, oh yeah, that's all right. And it's just like, we'd like to issue a correction. This does whip once you get halfway through it. And apparently it's got workshop support. I haven't even touched that. Like I said, I haven't touched any of the challenge levels. The fact that I opened up a actually I should look at this. There's a marble mode, which I guess changes, let's just do the first level, which I guess changes it into a one of these games. And you can just kind of over par. Oh, par times. Oh boy. Where's the hole? Can I use H? I can. Yeah. Okay, you gotta hold H to get there. Okay, you don't need to tell me I'm slow. Oh, and the other thing, in the extra, this is what was locked before, or one of the things that was locked before is this mezzanine tour. This is just all of the, yeah, this is like all of the demonstration things from the mezzanine level, just laid out so you can go and explore them all and look up close at these paintings. You cannot make 4D knots from strings. They're easily untangled just by pulling any crossing over the other through the fourth dimension. Bro. Instead, 4D knots are made using 2D surfaces and are called knotted spheres. The one shown here is one of the simplest 4D knots. Yeah, bro? Journey to yeah, bro? Whoa? I don't get it, man. Oh, right. And then, of course, there's all of these other ones in here that you can only get to by, you know, entering the fourth dimension and rotating around to it. Oh, this is the 24 cell, which is now I'm looking at it. There you go. Sure, man. Which, like, this is cool. And again, I feel like this, the very like passive, simply viewing everything version of this could have and maybe should have been the first level, because like it is stuff that is sort of like confusing and it's hard to grasp, but is a good showcase of like the kind of crazy stuff going on in 4D. The kind of like weird shapes that are possible in 4D, the kind of stuff going on. You can just look at, you don't really have to worry about it. All the paintings are blank when you I like this one. This one's the rabbit. It's also the CT scan kind of thing. You can watch that rabbit butt swing around. I'm a big fan of watching that rabbit butt swing around. But again, this is as like a or even like, no, yeah, I think the very early ones where it's like all you need, like if you're in this 4D museum, but it doesn't ask you to interact with the volumetric view for the mini golf like that first one does, and it's just like, oh hey, there's some stuff going on over here. You don't even know that you're a part of it yet. You know, there's a way it could have been done, which foreshadows, right? It is so, the game is so careful about not overwhelming you with the gimmick of the game that it undersells the gimmick of the game, which I think is kind of a shame. And you know, again, maybe that's me. I'm qualifying now. I'm going over and over myself. What's this thing? This is a compound of 120 overlapping 5 cells. Cool, man. I have no idea what this means, but that looks cool. Yeah, this is all I wanted to get to. 4D golf. Once you get halfway through it, it is super, super cool. Okay, earlier I mentioned the Mario games. Let me just close that thread now that I remembered that I haven't yet. The way this game is so like, oh, we need to super slow roll the concepts so that way it can, like, you know, onboard anybody, means that the stuff that is appealing to me isn't till like the very end of the game, until it does a twist. And like, that's kind of how I felt about pretty much every Mario game post Sunshine, like starting with new Super Mario Brothers on, I guess, Wii. It's like all of those games are so rote and boring to me, even when they have, you know, new power-ups and maybe new enemies and whatever. It's just like, yes, but all the levels are so like unchallenging because the challenge curve is so shallow that the parts of those games that I enjoy the most, and this even goes into like Mario Galaxy. Well, I've only played 2, but like even like the Galaxy games and 3D World. I haven't played Odyssey, but like a lot of the sort of like course games, not the sandbox ones, a lot of the course games, it's all of the post credits like Champions Road like bonus levels that I'm like, these are good, these are challenging but not impossible, and like I still sweep through them, but in a way where I'm just like, okay, I actually have to like think and plan and maybe take a few tries. And like, is that because they're not appealing to me? Like, yeah, I guess. But then every time I look back at Super Mario World, and the thing that I think is so cool about Super Mario World is that like when you get into alternate exits and like hidden exits and stuff like that, what you're actually doing is you are putting like multiple off ramps based on player skill. Like if you can like understand, oh, I can use this cape to do something really kind of messed up. Oh, I can, use abuse shell throwing in this way to get into this location. And then there's an exit there, which jumps you ahead or puts you on a track of harder levels. It's like, yes, you don't need to pick easy, medium, hard at the beginning. The past, each individual level is sort of designed with like easy and hard routes through them that have different exits, and depending on which exit you take, you have told the game, you have informed the game what your skill level is. So what lies beyond that exit is then tailored for what that skill level was, which is why I was really psyched about Garbanzo Quest being a game that leans heavily into the secret exit aspect of the overworld map. Because that is a game that's like, yeah, you can start a level, find the secret exit, get into a path of harder levels, and then find the secret exit in the first or second of those and get into an even harder path of levels. And you stay invested the whole time because, again, like the game is giving you chances to be like, hey, how much do you understand these systems? How hard of this, how much can you see through the system and understand that there is something harder to do here, and can you accomplish it? And when you say yes, it goes, great, let's skip you ahead a grade, essentially. I don't know how a game like 4D Golf would do something like that, but this is something that I see in a lot of games that like, it's something to consider. It's not a lesson that can be applied to every game, I don't think, but I think it is something valuable to consider when you are thinking about how you are implementing difficulty in your games. Secret exits are very powerful. I feel like I could do like a whole TED talk just on secret exits, although I basically just did it. I guess it would just be more examples backing up whatever I just said. All right. This is going to do it for the addendum. Thank you for listening to me rant for another 90 minutes about this game. Jeez. And we didn't even play full 9-hole sets. It's going to do it. This game is cooler than I thought it was. And I feel bad that it got undersold on the stream, but I also feel like that's kind of on the way the game presents itself. That's all I'm going to say about it. Check it out. And until next time I see you, take care of one another. I'm sorry if I sound like a jerk. I want things to be better. I want everything to be great. And sometimes I get frustrated when I feel like things could be better than they are. Sorry. Be kind to one another. I'll see you next time.